The meeting is called to order. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, roll call, please, Clerk Bowen. Cody? Here. Grumka?
Here.
Marcel? Here. Morgan?
Here.
Conway? Absent. Carlson? Here. Crowley? Here. And Mickey Miller here. Are there any adjustments to the agenda? So maybe would like to add under item number 10, it would be letter
E.
Nope. No.
No.
G. G.
Oh.
That she would like to discuss the need for additional pairs in the elementary school, middle school. Any other adjustments?
What? Yeah. On the HVED follow-up review item, I would like to turn that into an action item or call for a vote once we give our follow-up.
So it doesn't need to be made by someone that.
Yeah, so.
I so move.
Oh, no.
Oh.
When I did the research today on it, because it was a motion that passed, a negative motion that passed, we need to have a motion to rescind the negative motion that was on August 28th.
Okay.
And then another motion to take action one way or another. So there'd be two things there. It would be,
I'm happy to do that.
12.
Can we just do it during the review process, or do we need to do it right now?
Technically, you need to make changes to the agenda right at the beginning.
Okay.
So I'd like to add two action items to the agenda. Our options are open after review and informational items 10E HVED follow-up. As 12C, I move to rescind the August 28th, 2023 motion to not approve the HVED joint powers agreement.
Second.
Okay, is there any discussion? Any discussion?
I don't feel like enough has been answered or changed. I asked about looking through the budget to see if there was a way to put less impact on our taxpayers, find some costs within our general funds for this, and I haven't seen any remapping of that.
I have information right here about what costs will be if we do or don't.
Did you find ways to lessen the tax impact, or?
I haven't talked to Julie about lessening the tax impact. There's not, I think what you're thinking about is that Caledonia has extra levy kind of thing. There's something that they can use that we don't have the option to do here. So it's just not, I can't remember exactly what it was we talked about at the superintendent's meeting, but when I went through and looked at it, it wasn't something that we can do. They have it in their coffers that they could just take it out of the general fund, et cetera, to do that.
Okay, and I also asked if they could add to the agreement a clause about where the money would go when they sell their buildings, no matter the amount. and have that taken off of the balance that all the districts are paying. There was not a clause added to the.
I don't think they've added anything to the joint powers agreement at this point. I think there are other people though that are here that have a greater knowledge base because they've been involved in the program for a much longer period of time. And so I'm thinking that at that point they could speak to some of those things.
I was gonna say, is it appropriate to state the agenda edits I'm motioning for, and then actual have the motion and we can discuss later, or?
Yeah,
How does
so
that
to
work?
be
Because a
clear,
motion's
this
on
is
the-
only to move it from
Right.
informational down to an action item. We are not voting on anything related to it at this time.
Oh, I thought this was to rescind the other motion.
The first one would be to rescind the motion.
Yeah, and then the second,
Would have been approved or disapprove it after the follow-up.
I
So
guess
how does
at
that
this
work?
point, I'm not ready to rescind it, and if they wanna do the follow-up information, and then we talk about rescinding it and moving it to an action to a different meeting, I think we have to make the adjustments to the agenda right now.
I'm comfortable doing it tonight.
I am also, we gotta move along.
So I would call for a vote here.
we're still in discussion.
Okay, you're right.
Any other discussion? Okay, so the motion on the table is to rescind the decision that we made at the previous board meeting, which was no. We would be rescinding that. It would then, we would have a motion then to move it to an action item, and it would need a revote. Okay. I'm comfortable doing that because we do have additional people here that I'm hoping can answer a lot of unanswered questions that I continue to have. So any other discussion? Okay, can we take a roll call vote, please, Nancy?
Sure. Cody,
No.
Trumka,
Yes.
Marcel? Yes. Morgan,
Yes.
Conway is absent, Carlson?
Yes.
Crowley?
I don't get to
I'm
vote.
sorry. Miller, yes.
Okay, so the item is rescinded. Now we need a motion if someone wants to.
Aren't we just changing the order on the agenda right now? The agenda adjustment, right?
Well, so that would be taken off of, the motion then would be to move it from informational to
To an
action.
action, and then a re-motion will be done after the informational.
Yeah, I guess what I am looking for is a motion to approve the adjustment as
We're not there yet, because we're
We're
still
making
having to, we need a motion, if someone wants to make it, to move it from informational to action.
Motion to move from informational to action.
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion? Any discussion? So it would be to move it from informational to action. Okay, no discussion, those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay. So the motion passes to move it from informational to action. Okay, are there any other adjustments to the agenda? Okay, is there a motion to approve the agenda with the modifications?
motion to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion? Any discussion? Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. We are at number 5, adjustment.
Announcement.
Number 5, announcement. Any announcements? Okay. Moving along. We are on number 6, this is community input. I will call your name. You can sit, stand, whatever you're comfortable with. Each speaker will have 2 minutes of uninterrupted time. It is not interactive, so the board won't be discussing anything with you. Just as a reminder, you cannot speak about individuals or be in any way demeaning when you speak. Not that you would, but just as a reminder. And up first, we have Carter.
Hello, so I'm Carter. I'm a junior in high school, and I'm just here to talk about the homecoming dance a little bit, just give some overview on what we're doing. So this year, the FCCLA is putting on the dance, not the student council, so some things we're doing a bit different. Mainly through the ticket system, we have a student conduct form where everybody's going to sign before they buy the ticket. This year, tickets are $10. The dance will still be in the high school cafeteria, and we'll have a DJ concessions by the Booster Club that agreed that would help us with that. Otherwise, the number system for the tickets are going to be pretty much the same as last year. Everybody's going to get a number on their ticket, and it will match with what list we have. So when you check in for your ticket, you're going to have to match your number, and if you don't have your ticket you were assigned, you probably won't be let in. It's kind of like similar like last year, so people are just going to have to be responsible with that and get their own ticket. Otherwise, nothing else has much changed. We just pretty much use the student conduct form from prom. Basically the same guidelines, formal wear, semi-formal, no jeans, none of that. So, yeah, that's all I have.
Thank you.
Thanks, Carter.
Thank you, Carter.
Do you have a student board rep?
Not yet. No, and then
Carter.
for asking
Yeah.
Carter to do it, yes. It's like, come on, Carter, you can do this.
We could use a student board rep, and you did a really nice job.
Thank you.
Consider it, please. Okay, thank you. Up next, we have Ron.
I'm Ron Pagel. I'm a member of the Dover Yola School Board. I also serve as a representative for that district on the HBET School Board, or District Board. I'm here tonight. First of all, thank you for amending your agenda and reconsidering the joint powers agreement that we are trying to enter into with all 12 member districts. I think there is a lot of value to this. The needs of those students need to be met. I will also say that, I'm here to answer any questions. For instance, you don't have to levy to make that payment, whatever your payment is a year. You can take that out of general fund if you have them. A lot of districts don't, so they are authorized to make that levy to get that done. So there are other ways to pay for that other than levy. And Caledonia does have a special opportunity that they can use to pay for theirs. Again, I encourage your support. Is it the perfect project? No, there will be issues along the way. Just there's issues with new builds, and we're renovating a used building, but it's something that we think we can afford, and it certainly takes a big step forward in taking care of the needs of those students. And I'd encourage your support of approving the GPA tonight.
Thank you, Ron. Okay, up next we have Christy.
I'm here on behalf of parents here in Austin, and we just heard a ton of information, and a ton of information has come in. Maybe we've heard it directly from our kids that are on the student council and stuff too, so I don't know how we're hearing it wrong, but we're hearing that. I'm happy that you guys are bringing back Order Pop according to the email that came out at 4:30 this afternoon. Yet, we're still not going to do the king and queen. We're going to do royalty. We're just not understanding that as it wasn't broken, so why are we trying to fix it? We want to keep the traditions alive. We're okay with adding something, but not taking away something. It just doesn't make sense because it's been around for ever, centuries, and why are we trying to change that now? So we can say, I don't like that people said that we were lying or spreading misinformation, because I did email and ask, and they didn't answer till yesterday or Monday. So my biggest thing is, I just really would like information to come not the day before when we can't do anything. We would like to have it done a little bit sooner. And along with prom, is this going to be the same thing with prom, or are we going to come back here and do this again at the end of the year?
Yeah, I'm just like, I'm not sure what's going on up there.
But yeah, so our biggest thing is we'd like information and like, since school has started, we haven't got information. I mean, the elementary school, I think, is a lot better than kids here and then kids at the high school. I feel like the high school is way lagging and it's weeks behind and it's the day before they find out about something. So, and not everyone is on Facebook, not everyone's on everything else, so I feel like there should be better communication about everything.
Thank you, Christy.
Okay, and rounding out the public speakers, we have Mr. Kufal.
Good
I
evening.
cannot say Gary, sorry.
You can.
I can't.
Many of you probably know me, some of you may not, but I'm Gary Kufal, longtime resident of La Crescent. I'm here regarding the JPA. And I'm here in two aspects. One, as a longtime resident of La Crescent. And also as a superintendent at Mabel Canton, which is part of HBD. And if you haven't gathered an assumption about where I'm at on it, I am in full support of approving the JPA. So make no bones about that. I am also here, though, as a resident of La Crescent, to a smaller degree than as a superintendent in HED, but as a resident of La Crescent, and what is going to happen to our special ed students that are in HED if we don't move forward. I would entertain at the appropriate time of the agenda, if you want to ask me any questions, or if I raise my hand, if you would allow me to speak. I'll try and refrain from any discussion, but there are times, as many of you know, when I have a difficult time not speaking, but I want to do it properly and appropriately. So I am here on behalf of that particular topic. Thank you.
Is there any other community input that can get added? Anyone feeling brave now that maybe? Okay. Moving along. We are on item 7, board member reports. I have no official board member report other than Applefest was awesome. Thank you to everyone involved for helping, whether it be cleanup, to partying, to helping just fill the tent and fill the event. So it was really great to see everybody. So thank you. Darcy?
I have a couple things. During Applefest, I was asked again by a member of our community who was a part of the group, and I think it was the veterans who donated American flags to our school. They bought American flags for every single classroom, and they asked me again if they were hung up and would like confirmation that they get hung up in our classrooms. So I just want to put that out there again. If we need more, they will get us more. If the ones that they purchased got lost. But I just want to make sure that we fulfill that and get those hung up everywhere.
I can't think of any classroom that does not have a flag hanging. I know Pat and his crew installed hangers in all the classrooms at their initial time.
Awesome. I didn't know, so I couldn't
Even in
for
our
him, but I will let him know,
Yeah.
and they will be very happy to hear that.
Can you send some pictures maybe?
That's a good idea.
Yeah. Send me those pictures. That'll be awesome. I can have some kids. They're not listening to the phone. Also, just an update on the superintendent eval that is nearly completed. We hope to send it out by tomorrow morning to a list of administrators and board members with an ideal complete date of 10 days. And then we will ideally have to schedule a special board meeting so that we can get this rolling. Especially with our October meeting being proposed to be pushed back, we want to get this rolling ahead of time. Along with the eval will be a separate survey for you to fill out with a set of goals and metrics for next year's evaluation for the superintendent. I do believe that's it. Maybe just a little bit on the facilities. I've seen, and was reported to me, some damage in the parking lot. I'm not sure if everybody is aware of that. It's, looking pretty rough and pretty big bummer for our new parking lot that we have spent a lot of money on. So it looks like it has already. And then the mats that go across the track, we just really want to take care of our stuff and stop spending money on stuff over and over and over again. So those haven't been something else for gaming. We should be doing that, but yeah, we want to make sure that that's taken care of. Okay.
Do you want to speak a little bit to what the damage is and what it?
But can we talk about it during the facilities portion?
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
fine.
Perfect. Anything else, Darcy?
No, that's it. I don't see the facilities portion on here.
10D.
Penny.
Oh,
Fred?
No report here.
Just an observation. I heard nothing but positives about us not having school the day after Applefest. And initially, I thought that was kind of cheesy, but even some staff, said, "Wow, that was a great idea. I'm glad we did that." So whoever thought of that, just want to pass that along, because I know you always hear the negative, you don't always hear the positives. So.
Team effort for a calendar committee.
Yep, Lancer Nation, and that's all I've got.
Thank you, Danielle.
No board report.
And I have nothing of importance to report on. We will move to administrative report. First, we have item A, which is high school.
So good evening. School year started off great. A lot of staff even commented they've never seen kids that happy to be back in school. So that means we must have done something right last year when it comes to building culture and getting staff to feel, your students to feel connected to our staff. So they were excited to be back. That first day I was out front and not a single student showed up after 7:51. And everyone was at least 4 minutes early, which doesn't happen at the high school if you've ever been at the high school. So they were excited to be there, which was really nice to see.
Sneaking in the side door to be up.
Right, yeah. But, anytime you're coming back, especially from 3 months off, you have those habits or those expectations that are different at home than at school. So there's always those reminders that are needed. Our staff did a fantastic job of doing that in a polite and positive way. Whether that was language that students were used to using at home, whether that was phone usage, just how do we interact with people who are not used to seeing. But that's always what you see a lot of at the very start of the year. That takes up a lot of time and effort, but that's kind of where we put that big focus on readjusting our students back to school, knowing that that's going to pay off big dividends next week. But there's always, things that come up over those first 2 weeks that you don't see elsewhere. Homecoming, obviously that's the big event that we have. A lot of information has gone out this week. It's gone out a little bit later than I would like it to have gone out, but 2 weeks ago we didn't have any homecoming events. That's the point that we were at. We were about 1 day away from saying that homecoming will be dress-up days and a dance. And that would be it. Because we didn't have advisors or committee that was there to help put that together. So we started last week putting things together for homecoming, and that's delayed things significantly. But we're there. They're working hard. Our students are doing a fantastic job of putting things together, whether that is planning, whether that is reaching out, making contacts. We have 2 new student council advisors who are working their tails off to get things ready. It's going to be a great event. So we're really excited. As Carter mentioned, FCCLA stood up and said, we'll take the dance off the student council's plate, because we know that you guys have enough going on as well. So that's a little different than what we've done before, but truly it's a group effort to get that going. You can see kind of the big dates that are there. One thing that I'm really excited about is we have a tailgating with teachers event, which will be Tuesday of next week. That's a parent engagement night, kind of replacing that fall conference, because those parent-teacher conferences have not historically been very well attended at the high school. So what we did on that evening, there is girls soccer and girls volleyball that are both home. So we're going to have all of our teachers out there helping to prepare and serve the chicken coop. So we've contracted with Rooster Andy's to help provide that. That'll run from 4:30 until we're out. People can purchase their meals in advance online through Infinite Campus. If they want to do walk-up, they can do that as well. It's slightly more expensive. But when we're out of meals, we're out of meals. We thought that'd be a neat way to provide food, which was a feedback that our parent advisory group had. That if you're doing a parent event, provide meals or food or something there to help offset something we do at home. So we're hopeful, especially with 2 home events that night, that we can have lots of parents out there either getting to know teachers or kind of having those casual interactions. But then any of the proceeds from that will go towards our Lancer Stewardship Award. But then you can see the activity day all day Friday. Our high school is at Old Hickory for basically the whole morning. Then they have the parade in the afternoon. So we encourage students to dress for the weather because they are outside for the majority of that day. And the dance is on Saturday. Any questions?
Where do the boys play the day of the tailgating with teachers?
They are in Kelly. Let me check the calendar. It's Tuesday next week, boys soccer. At Dodo, correct?
A lot of parents will go to that one.
What's it?
A lot of parents will go to that one.
They could.
Helping it is very far away, so the parents can stay local and still come if they're
Yeah.
even on the board with the site.
Well, we'll see. We wanted to do something, trying something different, just to engage parents, trying to get them into our building, get them with our staff interacting.
So did you
Something
poll
different.
the students and ask them about the King and Queen?
Student council hasn't decided exactly what royalty will look like yet. They're working on that stuff.
Are they gonna poll the whole student body?
Student council is kind of the representatives of the student body. So I don't know that they're polling everyone, or if they're just talking to kids informally.
So when I was in school, student council members were elected on. Is that still how it is? Because that's how they became like the voice of the student body. They were like elected officials.
Right. And now it's more of kind of if you want to be a part of it, you're allowed to be a part of it.
Anybody, an unlimited number?
I don't think they turned anyone away this year. I don't know that for sure.
How many student council members do you have?
I'm sure if you remember how many were at that meeting. It was over 20.
Yeah, I believe we have somewhere around 20, I'd say like 23, 25 around there.
That's good. Okay.
Maybe a little more.
Yeah. I mean, it was definitely more than 20. I didn't count, but just picture in the room.
And to a council full of juniors, seniors, like all grade levels.
Yeah.
It's not just juniors and seniors that are voting on this. And for voting, we are going to pull the whole grade. And then we were talking about doing top 10 and then voting again for another 5 or 3. So, but we still would like to do our king and queen, if that's still an option.
So is that an option? So they
Yeah,
can
they're
still...
meeting again Friday, and they're deciding exactly what it'll like. They just haven't made the final decision yet. So I don't want to say it's one thing and then have to come back and say something else.
So we will let the student council decide.
Yep.
And where, so, but student council wasn't who decided that we were moving from the past practice of 5-5 king and queen and move to what was updated in the handbook was not a decision that our students made.
There were some discussions with students, last year's student council group, as well as years prior to that, but ultimately that was an administrative decision.
Okay. And I have a question about the student council advisors. So does that have to be a teacher?
It is definitely best if it is someone who is in the secondary building. It's really hard to run any activity or club if there is no one with you in the building.
I'm asking that because if we were at a point of having to cancel homecoming because no one would volunteer, like I had no idea.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's people that either work later or could have stepped in, like to get to the point of we weren't able to have a homecoming and not spread, you know, feelers far and wide to get. I'm glad that the team stepped up that did. But I think it put them in a really like hard situation because we know we need student council each year, right? So do we have a plan in place to make sure that doesn't happen again next year?
As far as student council advisors?
Right.
Well, hopefully the two that are there will stay on if you can do it else. And that's something that's typically run through activities, and we didn't have an activity director this summer either. I mean, that was a part of the delay in that. We had someone who was going to be our student council advisor who left the district over the summer as well. It was kind of the perfect storm of we had people, they were gone. We had people, they were gone, they didn't work out.
Well, I understand that, but it's another situation where adults aren't getting our act together, you know, and the kids were almost the ones that had to like suffer for it, right? So I guess I would just ask if we get in a situation like that, that we're asking, reach out to board members to help facilitate things like that. Even if we're not the advisor, we could help plan a homecoming and help with a parade, and we're all willing to do that. And just so we're clear, the classes can wear colors, is that correct? The normal.
That's the dress up they picked on Friday.
Okay, so they can wear their normal colors. If they choose to wear black for seniors, white for juniors, that's fine. Okay, and powder puff is back, so they can do powder puff if they choose, right?
Yeah.
When is that usually held?
That's at the park on Friday.
It is, okay. Yeah. Yeah, that's always a fun.
And they played last year too.
Yep.
No, they didn't. They were told they couldn't play last year, and they went and played somewhere off school grounds on their own.
They played Friday at the park. We had staff members playing with them. Cody repped it.
Yeah, the boys played football. I watched them.
And a couple girls were let them play, but that was not it. There was no actual powder puff like juniors or seniors.
We did not play juniors versus seniors, right? We didn't play juniors versus seniors, but they played football.
Yeah,
Boys played football in the park. Yes, it wasn't powder puff. Because they were told they couldn't last year. So I'm just, so they can play powder puff in the park this year. Okay.
And we are to direct any student concerns or parent concerns about the King and Queen. They can go talk to these student council members and
Well,
let
they
them
should talk
know.
to me.
What?
They should talk to me.
Are you going to
We don't
let
need parents talking to students.
They
expressing
gotta follow the
frustration.
handbook.
the students can talk to other student council members and
Oh,
express what
absolutely.
they
Yeah.
want for
Yeah,
the
students
student
can. Yep.
Well, but student, correct me if I'm wrong, student council was told they need to follow what's in the handbook, and the handbook was updated. So student council didn't make the decision of what's in the current handbook.
But it doesn't say in there that they can't have a king and queen. And then we just have suggestions for them for the other positions if they decide to elect a third winner.
Yeah, and they have 3 ideas that they're considering. And they'll decide Friday which of the 3 they want to go with as far as what royalty looks like.
So they get to make up the final split.
And we'll get whatever the appropriate crown or whatever they decide, student council will decide what they want to do.
Yep.
Yeah. And we'll fund whatever they need for the third.
Yeah, they have.
Yeah.
Plenty of money.
Okay.
And can any students still join student council if they want to?
Yeah.
I think that is all of my questions.
Any other questions?
I've got a question. Last year it was a little cold, and so I took a couple phone calls from my kids, and
Yeah.
I was the bad parent and told them you need to suck it up, and but I don't want those calls again this year. I will recommend they bring a sweatshirt or something, but do you think it's a good idea not to have an option for kids who don't want to go up there?
To the park?
Are you asking my opinion? Because that's
I don't think, right. You're never going to be popular when you force 100% of the people to do something. And so I'm just,
And I know that when I brought up backup plans to student council, they said that's a part of building school culture and school pride is that we are all together. So that was their response. We don't want to split and have a bunch of different activities and have some things over here and some things over there because we are no longer together.
Fair. All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
I heard their advisors had some ideas that I thought were really cool. Maybe I'm just old and not cool, but where they could paint, like if sports and bags aren't their thing, they could paint one of the hoops for football or but do art stuff, because both
Sidewalk
of the
chalk on
advisors
the
are art
basketball
teachers.
court.
So, diversify the activities a little bit more, which I thought was a good idea.
Great idea.
Or do like a chalk fest at the park, on the sidewalk, and do a competition for that too. Yes.
Students are brainstorming all kinds of ideas and things that can happen then. But yeah, the dressing for the weather is a big one, because that was an issue for several students last year, that it was kind of damp and misting a little bit. It was probably 60 degrees. But yeah, t-shirt and shorts, you were cold.
73 in front of the
That'd be a lot better. Yeah.
And then, sorry, for the float, because I did read your PowerPoint, thank you. I saw there's some new rules for the floats. Was there a liability concern, or for example, it said you only have the number of kids on the float as the number of wheels on the.
Yeah, I don't think any of that was different. But yes, there are some liability concerns with the float. We have a student who was.
But I mean, they usually have
year.
20 kids on a float.
And we're trying to not have them overcrowded, because that's a part of what led to the injury last year.
Okay, so they can ride on the float, they can't throw candy.
The people with candy should be off the float.
Okay. And then they need to be in the parade, right?
Yes.
They have to pick a float.
Yep. And then it goes band, well, royalty for anyone who gets that honor, but then band would be next. Then it's sports, activities, and then your grade home.
That's how it's been. Well, I think
that's been for 10 years.
Yeah. Any other questions or comments?
I love the PowerPoint. Very beautifully done.
Yeah. Credit to Olivia Vandenberg. She was the one who put that together originally. And I just stole parts of it.
There. Josh. No homecoming for middle school, but what do you have to share?
Not a lot, other than what's in my board report. Other than I didn't mention, we tried something new with our 8th graders this year as the top dog in the middle school grade level. We wanted to try to really establish some positive leadership. And so we started off the first 2 days of the school year, half of the 8th graders attended the first day, and the other half attended the second day, and then the 3rd and 4th days to round out that week, we brought the rest of them all together. We did that so that we could work with smaller groups of kids, try to focus on leadership skills. We did a lot of different sessions. The 8th grade team did a wonderful job of leading a variety of leadership activities, teamwork activities, and really kind of pounding away at the Lancer way and how to be leaders for our younger kids. And I heard a lot of positive feedback from both the students and the staff. They felt it was very good. We tried it. We thought, well, we'll give it a shot and see how it goes. And if it doesn't work, we'll back up and regroup. And if it does, then it might be something that we'll continue. As of right now, the feedback that we've gotten leads me to believe that it's something that will continue. And so it was a great way to start off the school year. And the rest of the grade levels also focused on expectations, and that coincided with our PBIS expectations for each of the spaces that they're in throughout the course of the day. The Lancer Way, being upstanders and positive teammates to their classmates. And so it was a very good start to the year. That's all I have to add.
For your SEL, being middle school is kind of that transition between, the elementary and obviously. What things are you focusing on in those?
Yeah, we're in the last year of utilizing the Second Step program, and that was one of those deals where the elementary had been using it for a number of years, and it works really well for the elementary. One of the dangers of adapting something for the middle school from the elementary is they still kind of have that. It's perceived as being a little on the childish side, and so it's not super well received. But the themes that are laid out as far as some resiliency and dealing with the different emotions and things like that, problem solving, all of those sorts of things. They still pull the themes out from Second Step. They just go about it really, in a different manner. Our PLC leaders are working with Jen on leading our PLC groups to tie to the pillars that the Minnesota Department of Ed has outlined for appropriate social emotional learning targets for our grade level. And so that will be it'll be a nice move forward. The commonality if we have grade level PLCs, if we focused on different content areas that'd be a little disjointed, so we wanted to have a common theme amongst our PLCs, and I think this is a nice way to do it. It's definitely a need, an ongoing need.
Could we utilize some of our students that show their leadership, the higher levels of 7th and 8th grade, and kind of see if there's things that they might be able to give us ideas on, or ways to make it relevant to that group of people? I know it's great to use what we, our resources in that way, but could we come at a much more organic approach and maybe something that's said that would relate to the students better? I guess, like you said, the little childish.
Yeah, and I know our 8th grade team in particular has really asked for feedback from the student body on both feedback on things that have already been done, but also what might be needed as well. So absolutely. Great.
Any other questions for the school update? All right, Mr. Kopp.
Listed for your review. School's running. And I love that picture right there. We did a serious picture. Well, the basketball court that's going in, but this was a staged serious picture with Mr. Stites and his daughter as well. One of the opening guest speakers did a selfie like this with a serious face. And it actually reminds me of my daughter because she never smiles. So we did one with them. This is at the photo booth at Back to School Night. So I thought a little bit of fun. Back to School Night was excellent. And it just, a huge shout out to our custodial crew for getting that natural playground. It's well worn and war torn right now, but that's what it's supposed to look like. So just enjoy that.
Don't look out the window.
No comparison.
And thanks again for the ball court. We're looking forward to having that, but we're going to stay off it until it's ready. Yes. So it's
I did hear very positive feedback about the back to school, having the photo op with the graduation year, and people love that. So let's keep doing more of those.
Exactly. It's a neat way to part of that marketing and getting them to post it on social media and just create a buzz about it. That's our idea.
People really like that. And my one request is, if not only for elementary but other, if we can share more on the district, on the school district page, like, so many people are wondering what that is in the field. So I posted it on my page. I took your picture of the picture and posted it on my page, and everyone's like, thank you. We were wondering what they thought it was a pickleball court. So I think as much as we can push that in, like over communicate, like
Sure.
tell they're sick of hearing from us, like just share the good things
Yep.
too, right? So that would be my one request for all levels. Any questions or comments for elementary? All right, we are at community ed.
All right, it's been a busy start to the year. In your consent agenda, you'll see that Jennifer Latta, our Kids Co coordinator, transferred positions to an elementary para. So we've been busy. I've been trying to fill that role myself, and yesterday our new coordinator started, so welcome to Amy Schuster. We've had over 100 kids daily, and it's been wild. We're still really seeking staff, and I thank you to Brittany and Jody and Bernie over at the district office for coming over to fill in. We're approaching needing to put caps on each day because we just don't have enough people to work for us. So,
what is the staffing need for hours? Like, what are the times of day you need the staffing for?
both before school and after school, so 2:30 to 5:30, and usually 5 after school, and then earlier on Wednesdays, of course, for early release, 1:45 to 5:30, and then before school, 6:30 to 8.
Have we put something out to high school students?
We've done that, and we have several high school students, but I can't have all high school students. So, and then also, of course, high school students are some of the busiest people that we know, so it's really difficult in a perfect world, I would rearrange the start times so that, high schoolers could get out of school and get over here to be staffing, but, we dismiss first, so. Catalogs are printed and they are in transit to people's mailboxes right now. So they seem to hit staggered, but we have physical copies at our office now. And again, the La Crescent Food Shelf has partnered with us to offer the backpack program again this year. So thanks to Lauren and Amy for working with me on being able to fill those backpacks every Friday.
And is that for high school now too?
Currently, we're still just at the elementary school. We've had, what's that?
What will it take to do high school as well?
A lot more. Space, people, and money for the food shelf to buy the food. But
we're working.
We are. We have a little core group working on wanting to set up more of a school model for a mini food store at the high school, middle school, so kids could go in and get what they need themselves, and hopefully pairing it up with the work study program. But again, time, space, money, and staff. So
no big deal.
In the works. Yeah, no big deal. No big deal.
Talked about that extra food, like rack at lunchtime. Is that moving forward yet? Like if somebody took something that they don't want, instead of throwing it away, putting it there so someone else can use it?
You mentioned that. I haven't seen that out there this year yet.
I think the food service staff is,
They're short.
well, they're short right now, but they're also doing yeoman's work and trying to make sure that all the kids get that first meal. They started out, it was that they were serving like, I think I heard 50 breakfasts to begin with, and that was what they were used to, and within the first 2 weeks, they were well over 200.
Wow.
And so, yeah, it just exponentially increased, and so they're trying to just make sure that they can get that under control first, and then,
But everything's really free.
you know.
It's a great way to get them social in the morning. And Beth, why was Chalk Fest canceled?
Didn't have enough participants.
Really?
Yeah.
I love seeing that.
I know. It was basically Bernie and her family that was signed up. That was it. So we're pulling our committee back together to see if we need to look at a different time of year or try to contact past participants. Well, we've contacted past participants multiple times asking them to sign up again, and people just couldn't do it this year. So we're going to try to reevaluate, see if we keep it during Apple Fest or try a different time of year.
Was it during Apple Fest last year?
Yes, it's been every year except for the first year. It's been during Apple Fest.
Just a quick question and then a plug to Food Shelf is seeing record number of families they're giving out to. So if there's a way any of our events can help by asking for donated food items, that'd be a good way to help that out too.
Absolutely.
That's just my plug. My question, just to circle back on staffing for Kids Co.
Yeah.
Is there a post that we can, as a board, can be sharing
Yep.
on our own social media sites?
Yep, there are some that are posted, both on our community ed page and, Kids Company page, unless they came down already, but I can check.
Okay,
Cause I
great.
paid for them to get boosted, so they might be hiding now.
Perfect.
Pay more money. But yes, you're right about the food shelf. We had our, I'm the chair of the advisory board, and August was the highest record month we've ever had.
Mhm.
So it's continuing.
Yes, and that is one of the things too, just kind of a plug for that Food Shelf has been great taking our educational benefits enrollment forms there, so families that come in can fill them out. But that's an ongoing concern that I'm working with other superintendents, because that is a way we generate funding for a lot of the other things we do. Ancillary revenue, et cetera, is from those forms. If people don't have the emphasis to fill them out because they're receiving the free meals to begin with, that creates the hardship, so.
For the record, we had 357 household visits in the month of August, which is up from 270 in July and up from 208 in January. So we're seeing a lot more. And the majority of growth is within the La Crescent area.
Heartbreaking.
Could we just look at email distributions and see when we have a slow time with emails? And maybe do a plug for if you haven't filled this out this year to do it, and that just be it, nothing else on the just that.
Yeah, we were thinking about, we even talked about having, like at the elementary school, classroom teachers just following up with.
It's hard because when you're doing the overt identification, you gotta do it all, or unless you have a reason to be communicating with specific parents for that.
Well, we were thinking all.
Yeah, so sending something just by itself, no long email, just attachment saying, if you haven't filled this out this year, if you don't think you qualify, these are the reasons that this is what we use it for, and that's it.
Maybe a reminder that they get free admission to sports.
I was just gonna say, yeah, let them know the perks of it, 'cause now that they are getting free meals, they're like, oh, why should I, so.
Discounts on community ed classes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, and Chromebooks, I mean, it's a pretty good sized list that they can get.
Participation fees, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Just
it's
highlight
way more than meals.
We don't advertise.
We don't advertise it, so if we sent it out with that form, just a reminder, this is what you.
I mean, we've been trying to crack this for 25 years.
And then just a question, if they fill it out and they qualify, and let's say they already bought a family pass for activities, would we refund them?
Have you thought about it?
Could we?
I'll
That's something we could do.
You know, there is, with the new legislation, et cetera, there are some stipulations about incentivizing people to fill out those forms. And so I have to do a little more research about that, because that was just brought up in one of the meetings we were at, that you can't hold the carrot to fill out the form, so.
I don't think there's anything wrong with letting them know what to get them.
We'll call it informed choice instead of a bribe.
Instead of incentive.
We're not offering them a free cheeseburger from McDonald's if they fill it out.
So that's what I want to look at. It was just mentioned, and I want to make sure that we're all on the up and up for everything.
Maybe just throwing it out there, and I know the students left, but maybe like the homecoming parade, someone could push a cart down the road and collect food donations, because there are quite a few community members that line up. Just an idea. And the students
Or
are
offering them $1 off their ticket.
yeah, something we could do with students maybe to
Well, that'd be.
throwing it out there.
I've thought about the food use too. That'd be an activities thing. They should decide. Are they willing to use that money in favor of it?
Or do a food war in conjunction with the color war.
Yeah, that's what we used to do for our classes.
Yeah.
And they've done that in middle school as well.
Yeah, they did it in 6th grade.
We did 3 food drives last year during the school year, like student groups did.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's something we do. You can't do it every month. I mean,
Right. That's asking a lot, yeah.
What's that?
It is asking a lot. I know like Crucifixion will do, I think the month of November and December is giving thanks. So each week it's an item. So we might have paper products, pasta, whatever, canned foods, canned meats. So each week was a different item. And then we had parent volunteers that did all calling.
Bam. Okay, anything else for community ed?
Thanks, Beth.
I don't see Terry here. Do we have anything for activities update?
He was going to send me a video, and hopefully he'll still get it done, and I can send it out to you guys about where everything was right now. The reason he's not here, I didn't know when we had this scheduled, that this is the mandatory coaches meeting. It's in Rochester, so he had to go with all the coaches in order to be eligible for moving forward. So that's where he's at.
Can you speak to how the two-headed monster is going? I mean, how's our little experiment going with Araya and him?
It's working well. It's working well. Yeah. It's Terry's on a learning curve, and Araya's there to help coach through some of those things and get some things done. Need to be done. So far so good.
Good.
Andy's teaching too.
Yes. And Terry's teaching too, and they've got 3 classes in the morning.
2nd, 3rd, 4th hour.
And I know the kids have liked it. We talked about, having them there and having that connection.
Yeah, I'm sure they love it.
And I'm not sure what his project is for his teaching. I thought he told me they were making foosball tables.
I don't know what he finally decided on.
Yeah.
But
is that what it is?
Yeah.
What is it?
Foosball tables.
That's awesome.
Are you gonna sell them?
I think so. They can either take them or, yeah.
He's hoping that with an open house, parents can play them and then ideally auction them off.
Oh, that's fun.
So.
So yeah, some really good stuff happening there.
Good. And that's happening in our new career and technical wing, right?
as is Lance Renovations.
Oh,
and some
yeah,
other
that's
stuff.
right.
Yeah. We had a lot of stuff going on there.
Good.
Is Lance's Kitchen gonna come back this year?
I haven't brought it back yet since we have a
new
brand new person.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna let her get settled in first before we.
Yeah. Good plan.
Yeah.
That was a lot of questions for Terry who wasn't here. All right, superintendent.
Okay. And I spent a lot of time prepping and getting stuff ready for the different questions you have on the agenda. So if anyone has any questions for me, let me know. I'm planning on pulling together an update at the end of the week that'll summarize everything that everyone's sent forward to me. So I can send that out, and we'll see that in here too.
Okay, so we will withhold our questions for the later agenda items. Okay. Education Minnesota update.
Yeah, it is a fairly brief presentation today, so let me also credit Olivia with the branding and everything. We saw that background and wanted to use it, so we did. All right, so going to Lancer Green at you. That's just general notes. We've had some questions from people about what they want or should specifically put on here, but also who it's coming from. But as far as athletics go, the date that I really want to draw your attention towards right now, not that any of them are more important than the others, is Tuesday, September 26th, because that will be the night of the tailgate. But there's a lot coming up in the summer over the next over the next few weeks here. So please look through all those things. The kids love it when we show up to these things. So please spread the message. They want us there. They want to see us there, and that's pretty cool. So with that, tailgate with teachers. That's September 26th, as I mentioned, 3:30 to 7:30. Coming from an educator, please, I beg you, please come. We want to engage. There's food. I mean, whatever you can do to try to help market this. I'll speak for myself, but for the rest of us too, I want to engage with you. I want to know the kids as parents. And this is a largely laid back setting. So it's not as intense, intimate, however you want to say it, as sitting right in front of the teacher and having that conversation. We can do it a little bit more organically. So again, food, Chicken Q, Rooster Andy's, beginning at 4:30. I'd be glad to serve you. So that's going to be all part of it. Something really cool as well. I've never had the opportunity to actually duck in to a sporting event when these things are going on. So that's exciting for myself. So again, we're trying new things. Feedback is helpful, but proceeds go towards Lancer stewardship. So trying to incentivize kids doing the right thing, stepping up and leading. So pretty cool stuff. And then next slide here, 2nd grade. I'm sure you've heard it from me before. You'll continue to hear it again. Elementary school continues to do way more fun stuff than I've ever done in my entire tenure of teaching. But Fred the Gummy Worm. So what they were attempting to do is try to get Fred the Gummy Worm back onto his boat, only with paper clips and in teams. So essentially the life preserver with the gummy lifesaver, but they can't stab Fred. So essentially a very simple way of problem solving, but it's fun, it's engaging, it's trying to get kids to work together and problem solve. And then you've got Apple the Loft, again, it's fun alliteration there. Using only the materials provided, work with your team, build the tallest structure possible. It's a pretty common exercise, but it is a very cool elementary twist. So, really cool stuff. I wish we had more pictures beyond this. I will apologize on behalf of myself. I don't do a great job of branding. I could share a lot of stuff. It's just you get the axe to the grindstone, you just kind of go. And this is the piece that falls off. Teachers are doing some really cool things, and kids are doing even cooler things. So it's been a really fun start to the year. Thank you.
Thank you. That's always my favorite part of board meetings.
Kids are fun.
And that's,
We haven't
again,
had one in a
beautiful
while.
presentations. Can we share that right onto social media? All those slides is the great way the information is laid out. It's not too much to read, easy.
So the policy part isn't your favorite?
What?
Policy part isn't your favorite part of board?
You just heard April's
No,
feelings.
that can be your favorite part. It used to be mine too.
Mm-hmm.
Cody, is there anything you need from the board for the Chicken Q? Like, do you want us to serve so you can mingle? Like, do you want us to show up and help?
Honestly, I would argue that's more up to admin.
Okay. Well, let us
Genuinely,
know.
I would just like to talk to you.
Nice and you.
Really.
Yeah.
I want to get to know you all.
We'll all
talk about
board
your
I'm
kids.
happy to
Talk about your kids.
answer.
So all the teachers are going to be there.
Our high school teachers.
They're supposed to be.
Okay. And so we don't really need help serving because we're going to have 30 staff members there, and you only probably need 4 or 5 to serve.
Right.
So we're just going to do a rotation through staff serving.
So we can just go as parents.
You can go as parents. You can chit chat. If you need to talk to a specific teacher, you just say, "Hey, can we step aside and talk for a little bit?" It's, like Cody said, it's a very non-threatening way to hopefully engage parents, and if you need to have a conversation, you can have a conversation.
Good job. Yeah, I like the idea a lot. I hope it gets huge.
We're gonna do a few activities. We're gonna do some like chalk drawings, and we're gonna have some games out there, and just trying to turn it into a fun place you can come.
Do we need to remind people that there's no drinking in the classroom? I get nervous with the word tailgating.
I know, but we'll have 40 staff members there, so I mean, it's, yeah. I would hope that would go without saying, but yeah, the alliteration was kind of fun.
Okay, well, let the board know if you need us to help with anything.
We'd like you to be there. You know, come show up.
Okay, any other comments or questions for Mr. Brown? We are on number 10A, budget update, and we have Julie here with us. Welcome.
Hi, thank you.
Can you enlarge that, please?
Is there anything specific you
Thank you.
start at the top?
Does anyone have any questions for Julie?
What's our general fund at? Unassigned balance? How much?
The balance sheet is right here.
Yeah, can you just, here. Thank you.
So one thing we do want to remember as we look at this balance sheet is that we are in the middle of the audit yet. So until the audit is done, there will be dollars that are going in and out, like through the due to other funds and through our prepaid expenditures that won't be there as we go on through the year. Some of those are going to be tied out in journal entries, and until that audit is done, these final numbers for FY23, if any of them need to go to FY24 or come out of FY24 and go back to FY23, that won't be shown here if some of those are outstanding. So that's one thing we do need to keep in mind as we're looking at these reports, is that nothing is final yet for FY23. Yes?
FY23 means fiscal year 23, fiscal year 24, just
Correct.
for other people. Thank you.
Yes, correct. Yes, so our fiscal year is July 1st through June 30th, and every school is mandated to have an audit, so it comes sometime after the end of the fiscal year, after June 30th. Here at La Crescent, we do it very early, so there were even some things that the state did not have out yet that we could not do with the auditor when he was here. So some of those I am tying out and closing up for him as we speak this week. Just to keep that in mind on that report before this too, that some of those numbers will change in the next couple months, and that's normal at all schools. So.
So I know this is G, but we have now seen several new students come into the district who also are requiring full-time paras, which means we need to keep hiring full-time paras, and they don't get reimbursed enough to pay for another full-time para fully. So what are your thoughts from a budget perspective on how much of that can we really absorb if we continue to get, students with such high para needs?
You're going to get dollars into the district from if a new student comes in, so it'll be the first place that we'll get funding, and then if they are special needs, then we will get funding there. It is not covered 100%, of course. I think we're at somewhere between 50 and 65% that we get reimbursed. One thing that we do have going for us is the cross subsidy for special education. The new law this year is going to give us more dollars there. That won't hit us until next year. So the expenses this year, we get that reimbursement next year. But that will help. So what that is, in case anybody needs to know, that's the difference between what we spend on our special education expenses to what the district has to put in towards special education expenses, because they are not fully funded. So that'll help us, but that will be reimbursed the next year. So if we do need to bring in paras, part of that will get covered by the percentage right now that is covered by special education, and of course then we get some dollars for the student just being in our school.
Is there an end date to that extra coverage that starts next year, or is that just no end date?
Special cross subsidy? Okay.
Is that a state or federal?
State.
And then the other thing to remember is that with the students' IEPs, if they have on their IEP that they have to have a para with them, that is something that we have to do.
Right.
So that even if we do have to find the dollars for it, because we have to make sure that we are keeping up with those IEPs. So if we need to have paras for special education students, that's something financially that we have to find our money to do that.
So are a lot of these kids that are coming in with the paras in their IEPs, are they younger? Is this something that's going to carry out for years? And do they ever reach a point where that extra para comes off of their IEP?
Yes and yes. So, yes, we've gotten a large number of younger students. That's what we brought to the board last time. So we got, what was it, Jeff? Three new students. Three new students.
All kindergarten age?
No, they were all through the elementary age that had substantial para support. I'm bringing it here because we just met, Josh and I just met today with Sam from HVED and Clover and went through. It looks like we've got for sure one new middle school student coming in that has full-time para written in IEP. And we've got a couple more that look to be coming back that will have some minutes. And currently right now, what we have is we have a couple of students that are currently enrolled in middle school that between the two of them, they would make up a full-time para. And then the other ones have some academic support and just pair support during classes, etc. So we're trying to piece all of that together. So with the new guy, the new kid coming in, that's going to be one where I think we need to recommend to start looking. That starts in October. We haven't had a lot of pairs that have applied.
I was just gonna ask, that was my next question, are all of our current positions filled?
Not currently. We have one opening at the high school yet, I think, that we haven't been able to fill.
Last year in the high school.
And we're still looking. We've got a couple.
What do we do if we don't have them and we have the vacancy posted, but we don't have anybody applying for it when it's written in an IEP and we're required to have one?
Sometimes it's subs. Mostly we have to triage from physical needs. You know, what is the most needy and put it in there, and then we have to work from there.
What if we are able to get one at the high school level? Can we flex from high school, middle school?
We've done some of that before.
At least alleviate that now.
And the principals have really done a great job looking at schedules and redoing how classes have been taught, etc., to maximize those para minutes that we can keep.
I mean, there's things like that we do where we take, and sometimes it doesn't make for the best environment, but there might be 11 kids on an IEP in the same classroom because we don't have the para manpower basically to have that split. So we have to put them all together. We also have a lot of our paras right now who are not getting lunch breaks or any of their other breaks.
That's not a great way for staff retention.
Correct. Yeah. But I mean, that's what we're needing to do to meet the legal requirements of the IEP.
And in that situation too, we also would pull some of the non-goal academic support. So if a student has a reading goal, but they also have some academic support in science or social studies, we might pull that academic support to provide support elsewhere if needed, which is something you have to do at times, but it's certainly not ideal.
Then you gotta document if you're not meeting the IEP needs, and you gotta offer that as compensatory services. So I mean, it's not like it just goes away. We still have to do it, just now we need to pay for summer staff to do it.
Is there any support from college students for paras? I know we get some student teachers and stuff. Is there any way to access or utilize?
We've had a little bit of that.
That's where it gets difficult because of their class schedules.
Correct. They can't be there all day.
Or not consistent.
Right.
A lot of college schedules are Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or
So
Tuesday,
you might get
Thursday,
someone for 3 hours on Tuesday, Thursday, and they're available for an hour and a half at a different time on Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
And what consequences or liabilities are we looking at for having one-on-one paras in IEPs and us not having them?
That's where we have to document everything as compensatory, and then as we did last year, we had a situation that went to MDE as a complaint, and so then we had to do a corrective action plan that would talk about how we're going to take care of that. And then we provided that student with compensatory education over the summer.
And just because I'm learning who is in charge of documenting all of that, is that you, is it you guys, is it
Case
special
managers?
Or the spec coordinator.
And is that a district employee?
Oh, sorry.
The sped
Either, any of them.
Sped coordinator is an HVED employee.
Sped coordinator is HVAC, okay.
And case manager would be a district employee. That would be one of our special ed teachers.
And when an IEP is opened or started, who's in charge of that?
There's a designated case
Or-
manager.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Or are you talking
if
like
you do an initial.
Initial.
process?
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay, so if you do an initial, there's a whole bunch of people that are involved, everywhere from school psychs to the director, the special ed coordinator of that area. There's teachers on the evaluation team, etc. You have to look at what you're going to test and where those evaluations, where is that? What's the evaluation plan? And that can be different if you're serving someone for maybe an emotional behavioral issue or an ASD issue or LD.
And then for most students, you have to redo that eval every 3 years to make sure they still qualify for special education services. And then at your annual IEP meeting, you can modify what services, if your team agrees that's necessary.
And so, go to your other part of the question, Darcy. if a child comes in from another district and they have a one-on-one special ed para, okay, they have a one-on-one para, we will go through and do our eval. So we'll take a look at it and we'll see, and we'll rewrite the IEP for us and see if there is that need, or if there are other ways we can do that within our program. But it takes a little while to do that. And yes, we've moved kids. In the year I was here, we moved many kids that started out with high-end minutes down lower throughout the year. So, but that becomes a team decision.
And are these students, if they have such high needs, are these students that we could potentially send to Winona at HBED and have them receive services there versus us adding staff here? Or
Potentially.
Yes.
Yeah. Depends on what their needs are for service.
So medically fragile, we couldn't send, but we would want to send out of the building probably. But
no, and it's interesting because one of the new students that came to the elementary, originally the plan was for that student to go to another facility, okay? And that's what ended up happening. But because the other facility wasn't providing the same things that we would, para support, etc., parents opted. We have no ability to say, I'm sorry, we're full, we can't take you, or, you know, it's just, it kind of is what it is. And depending on the level, so if, you know, there's levels 1 through 5, level 5 would be a residential placement, and we have some of our students that are in residential placements out of the area. Level 4 would be what we're looking at in the HVED setups, because they're pulled out of the school proper. And then we've got level 3, which is they're in regular ed less than 60%. Did I say that right? No, I said we said the other way. Over 60% of the time they're taken out of regular ed.
So level 1 through 3 is in-house.
Yes.
Only level 4 is at HVED.
Or two. Or no, any of the two that are, you say there's 2 coming over that one-on-one?
What's that?
Did you say there's 2 coming on, enrolling soon that are
Yes.
one-on-one?
That have one-on-one.
Are they level 3 or?
And one is currently a level 4 that will be transitioning back to a level 3, because you always try and move the kids back to regular ed, least restricted environment as much as you can. So that's one of them, one of the students coming through. And then the other one is just a community area family that was in a 7 through 4 para. And I can hand this out now and you can look at it, but this, the documents that I pulled together here, the top one, Deb sent, we'll go through and I highlighted in orange on it, the actual current numbers of kids we had in each of the, I'll get back to you guys, in each of the HVED programs. And there's a little pile of all sorts of papers here.
okay, we'll save those for the HBED action item discussion. Yep. Anything else on budget update? Thank you, Julie.
oh, one.
Nope.
So did Ehlers? Did they invest? Have we invested those bond proceeds that we got?
Yes, so they held some up because we spent some of it right away. You know, the abatement portion, that was done right away, so we spent that. What we weren't telling them that we needed to have access to right away, they did go ahead and invest, yes.
Okay. It's ballpark how much we were able to invest? If you don't have it, that's
we
fine.
We told them to keep back $950,000, I think.
Oh wow, okay.
And I already requested for some past stuff 200-some thousand, and today I requested over $1 million. So we put about 1.2 million out. So they did have enough to email me right before I came up here, and they did have enough to be able to reimburse us and we'll get those dollars on Friday. So everything else he's invested, and then I'll give him another timeline of the next dollars that I will need.
So we did the bond proceeds, right? 8 million or close to 8 million. And so I had emailed a couple months ago, said, hey, let's take full advantage of paying 30 days to vendors. We don't need to, be Johnny on the spot. Because right now you can invest in a T-bill, a 2-month T-bill, and make 5%. That's an APR. But I mean, so there on 7 million, I figured in 3 months we'd make $100,000, give or take.
And we sent him the timeline, we sent them the timeline of when we would be making these draws so that they could put investments out longer, or maybe they needed to be shorter, so they knew when we would be pulling money from them.
And what also is working in our favor here is with the inverted yield curve, all that means is you can invest money short term and make within spitting distance of a 1 year or of a longer maturity. So we're really going to make some hay here.
Yes,
and
that's correct.
And ideally we can.
And we have done some of that already. Exactly what you're saying. Yes.
So it's a positive. It's good. So yeah, don't pay those vendors too quick.
No, we are not.
Good. Okay.
I think I'm feeling like how people feel when I talk about policies.
Sorry.
That's why we have you both here.
Jekyll and Hyde.
All right, we're making money. I like it. Yeah.
We are.
Anything else for budget? Thank you, Julie.
You're welcome.
Balance sheet.
So that we had kind of talked about already. I just wanted to make sure that everyone was aware that we still are in the audit, and I've already spoke to that. So some of those numbers will be clearing up between FY24 and 23. If you go down below a little bit, you can see that where our net income and where our cash sits, and then where our reserve dollars are. That again is something we'll be cleaning up with the audit. And then our signed fund and our MA fund there, you can see all of that. Can you scroll down a little bit, go back up, up the other way, all the way to the top. Okay, debt service fund, go back down again for me.
That's got to be the highest we've ever had, isn't it? 28%.
Well, and if you see, I just wanted to show that net income of the negative 319,000. Just that's audit stuff. That's going to be cleaned up with audits. I just want to make sure when you saw that wasn't alarming to you, because that right now is normal. That'll be cleaned up with audit stuff, and then getting the dollars back in for some of the stuff we've already spent. And then yes, if you go all the way back down, it shows our fund balance at almost 28% there, or a little over 20%.
That's good.
But then you have to remember that does include some of those dollars too that we're going to be spending. So.
Okay, any other questions? All right, moving along. Enrollment, which I thought was blank when I pulled it up. Very fast at first.
55 in the kindergarten?
More doors, Jeff, more doors.
Round up at 60.
Okay, any questions, comments?
PSEO is up a little bit this year. Looks like, what we at, 19 last year?
I think it was, yeah.
He says it always starts out high and then it tapers off. That they want to be in the building.
Yeah. And it always sounds better than what it ends up being.
And have we gotten the homecoming ticket information to those students specifically in a little bit?
It's gone out all over the place.
Alright, just want to make sure they get the information.
I mean, they still have their school email. It's out there.
Can they have other people buy a ticket for them?
We added more ticket times too to accommodate kids that are out in the morning versus kids that are out in the afternoon.
Oh, good.
Last year was largely just lunch. We
Yeah.
had before school and after.
And I think Carter said they're numbered, so they have to purchase their own ticket.
Well, if we
Right,
know that,
something
hey, Jeff Kopp can't be here, he's at PSEO all day, can I buy a ticket for him?
Okay. As long as their name is associated with
the
Just
number.
write their name on.
Yes.
Okay.
I hate to beat homecoming to death, but let's say the daughter buys a ticket on Tuesday, well before the dance, you know, if that day is available, loses it on Wednesday, and goes to you guys, and they can get another one with the number on it? Just
Yeah,
not
I mean-
the day of the dance right at the door.
Not at the door.
Okay.
I mean, I met a kid at 8:30 in the morning on Saturday to give them a ticket last year.
Okay.
I mean, we made it work for students to reach out. Yeah.
Okay, just not at the door.
Yeah.
Great, that's good.
Any other questions? All right, facilities projects update.
This is part of, we're gonna have a discussion about this, but I'm starting a list of all the things that are happening or have happened in each of the different areas. And so that we'll be able to go out with that. But elementary, as you've seen, there's, we've got the basketball court that went in, we reworked the drainage. Now when I'm talking about that, that's the drainage right outside this area. That it would get ice dams in the winter and it would be dangerous for kids walking out and parents slipping and coming in. That was all reworked and taken care of. If you look around, you'll see the window coverings are now up, so they should all be the same type of beautiful window covering as opposed to different sheets and pieces of fabric and all the different things that we had up.
Was that
All the
hangers and
windows.
hems?
Huh?
Was that the hangers and hems?
Hangers and hems.
I
Yes.
saw a really large amount on the spreadsheet with hangers and hems. I'm like, I'm gonna ask what that is.
I bet that would
Oh,
be Van Buren.
yeah, I was gonna say probably dry
could
cleaning
be
Van
that
uniforms,
too.
yeah.
All right, that would make sense.
For once a year.
Yeah.
Are the teachers like us, the window covering?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I thought you meant band uniform for a
Yeah.
second.
Yeah.
You don't have to- Mhm. Yes,
Also,
there-
they like
yes,
the band.
high marks on the curtains.
Okay,
Thank
good.
you.
And they're in the process, Ally and the PBIS team are in the process of working with me on doing designs for G wraps. So G-Force is gonna come in and do wraps on those windows so that you can't see into those when we have classroom things happening.
G-Force, the local company?
Yes. And then also the areas that are the, like I knew the word, hold on, it was here. The side doors, the little windows on the side of the doors, there's a name for that, and I can't remember what it is right now. But those are made so that we can see what's happening in the classes, but right now, teachers are just putting all sorts of papers up there because they don't want distractions where their classes are walking by. So we're gonna take all of those and cover them up to a 4-foot height too, so that adults can see in, but kids can't see out. We've added playground mulch here. Custodial staff has done a great job with playground mulch. Pat, Jeff, anything elementary wise you wanna?
Yeah, high marks on that. It looks beautiful out there. It looks like Disney World. Pathways and clean and thank you. Safe. Extra padding.
So that makes it compliant because
Yes.
what we were having is problems with safety compliance because you have to have so many inches of chips underneath playground equipment, etc. And so we took care of that. Not as many projects as the elementary this year because we had just finished a lot here. We're looking at middle school. Obviously, middle and high school parking lots look great. We did have an issue, and I've got Pat checking in on the mix and whether the mix met state guidelines. Have you heard anything back about that yet, Pat?
Yeah, it was tested after the pavement. Problem with those marks that you're talking about in that pavement, it takes about 6 to 12 months for asphalt to fully cure. So that's why we kind of put out that we didn't want anybody on the parking lot for 2 weeks after it was done. But we still had traffic. They dodged the tape and drove on and picked up and everything else. And then the third week was when football practice, or it was the week before football practice, mopeds parked on there. So we've got a 2-inch sharp pad on a 90-degree day on a freshly paved, pliable surface. It's gonna sink.
Yeah.
So Matthew will come back and patch them up. So that's gonna be taken care of. But I just wanted to bring that up that it was very, very file. It was very, very fresh. Really, the grayer it gets, the more cured it will be. So
those weren't made recently, those were during football practice.
Yeah, that was during those really like 100-degree days too. That's when those came out. And, you know, and I don't know, I think there might be an opportunity for some education with the kids that ride the mopeds. I mean, when I had my motorcycle and ride my motorcycle, I had a little like kickstand foot that would just stick I'd keep it in my bag, and when I go put it out, I just put that down because that keeps it from going through in anything. And so we might need to just talk to some of the kids and say,
or moped parking, which is on a concrete.
Something like that would work too.
Area.
You know, just now that we know that that's an issue, we just have to figure out through it.
Is the spot by the garage like at a weird angle? When it was raining really hard the other day, it felt like it was cooling up there. Is that going to be a problem in the winter with ice and stuff?
Which spot are you talking about?
It was kind of by the garage area.
So you're coming from the street
Coming into the parking lot, and then I was coming
Before
forward, and it was before you turned to go towards the building, but it was kind of towards that back end. I don't know, I just happened to notice it and just thought.
There is one spot that's going a little bit.
Yeah,
about 20
it's like
feet
for
from
the
there.
winter, if it needed to be raised or something, so it
And we just need to keep on top of that, because that was part of the problem here is warranty ran out before they finished this, so we just have to stay on top of that and make sure that.
We have Matthew come and adjust that when they do the pad hole fixing.
Yeah.
And when will they be doing that, so we make sure that's done in warranty?
what compared to what Foley does?
Yeah, I mean, if it's raining out, you're gonna see it. It was the last time it rained.
I think it was raining pretty good that day, right?
Yeah, it was that day that it was random. Nobody knew it was gonna rain, and all of a sudden it was pouring.
Where you're talking, that is a pool up area that's supposed to drain. It's gonna pool there, but it's gonna drain. So, and I know there's talk about there's like coming down from the ramp. There's a drain that goes. There's always water that drains all the way there. I mean, water is it's gotta go somewhere.
Yep.
So it's sloped to that drain. So I'm guessing it's not gonna be an issue, but we gotta
Maybe just have somebody check it out next time it rains harder.
Or take a picture if we see it and send it to.
Well, especially with winters when you have the warm days where the snow melts and then it gets cold, so the sun goes down and then it freezes, and then those areas become a problem.
I like the idea, whoever it was, of painting the student parking spots different colors than the staff parking spots. I thought that was a great idea.
Jacob, is that you?
I don't know. Might have been Mindy or Patrick, but
It's all a team thing.
Yeah.
But it does make it much more definable.
Yeah.
And there's no question to it. So going off the parking lots, at the middle school, we also installed a boiler over the summer. So that was the boiler that would go down last winter, and we would have cold days and stuff like that. That's all taken care of now. There's a new water heater going in down there, because the water heater was on its last legs also. In middle October, there will be brand new lockers in the hallway. So it was 100 and something of one kind, and then.
Oh yeah, our 7th and 8th grade hallways will have a lot of 18-inch lockers, so they're gonna be wide, so all their sports bags and everything will fit in there. 72 inches tall. So 6 foot tall lockers. Our 5th and 6th grade hallway will have 12-inch lockers, which are still 4 to 5 inches wider than what they have now, and 60-inch lockers as well. So it will be, and they'll all be the same color as the high school lockers.
And everyone will get a locker?
Yep.
Any scrap value in the old lockers? Yeah, we'll take we'll scrap the altar or whoever. Yep.
So. And so those will be, the other ones will be torn out and they'll be installed in October. The hallway lights, if you walk through the middle school, were replaced, and the ceiling tiles were replaced, and so it's much brighter, it looks so much better. We're working on the Media Center collaborative space, and Ezra was here earlier, and he's gonna help me get a group of some kids together. I was gonna order that furniture over the summer, and then I realized when I started looking at it that it would look like a nursing home if I did it. I want it to look like somewhere the kids want to be, so I'm gonna let them finish ordering, or help with the ordering. Clocks are gonna be ordered for hallways and classrooms, and the clocks will be like the ones we have back here. Currently, it's kind of a hodgepodge going through the high school clocks, and some of them work, some of them don't. So that'll be a problem. Playground mulch was also added at the middle school, and our guys did that too, so that saved some money, being able to do that. At the high school, lockers were repainted and refurbished, hallways were painted, hallway lights were replaced, ceiling tiles were replaced, we have new shot clocks and scoreboards in the main gym. We've got clocks ordered for hallways there too. We're in the process of revamping the softball field to include new infield dirt, a net, so it'll be all ADA compliant. There'll be a concrete pad where people in chairs can come right up and wheel in, and they'll be able to see. There won't be any barriers there for viewing. Ordered a couple additional bleachers there in baseball. We tore down the old bleachers that they weren't really willing to certify and approve anymore, and we're in the process of redoing some of those pieces too. So,
And softball fitting bathrooms.
yes,
That will be this.
down within the line, yeah.
How about lights for the softball? Did those get installed yet, or no? Where are we at on those?
When we went out and met at the softball field the other day, Eric Keesaw said that he was going on, Marketplace for some.
Yeah, so speaking as the chair of softball boosters.
Yeah.
We're trying to put feelers out to get used lights from a college or something.
Oh, I thought we already had them. Okay.
No, we have nothing.
No.
So,
And I think the only thing that you found on Marketplace right now was streetlights.
one street light.
Yeah. So we're still looking.
Left center, or where are we going to
Yeah.
put them?
And do we currently have mats that go over the track?
When I talked to CJ, yes, there were mats, and I don't know why, if it's just that CJ hasn't had help to get them put out or what's happening, but when I was at soccer the other day and CJ was there, he was scrambling. He was doing like 4 jobs himself, and so I gotta figure out from Terry and athletics what's going on with.
And the mats that we have are pretty worn out.
What is something like that?
Well, we
Something
gave
would be better
Terry
than
a
nothing.
mat from the softball dugout, that rolled up black one that was there for far too long. We gave that to Terry, and he was gonna take it over and use to roll across the track, and that was whatever day we met.
Okay.
So there is a mat that could be used. How are we looking on the wayfinding signs? And then in the gym, we should be getting sponsor signs up on the scoreboards.
I was asked about that.
Yeah.
I think the wayfinding signs, Pat, you've got order.
I think we're kind of waiting a little bit because of the fact that school's already started. I think we planned on putting a lot of this stuff up. Wayfinding signs we could probably put up sooner, but like the classroom signs, I think that's been the discussion about waiting for the classroom signs, just putting the wayfinding signs up when we get them. But I do have like temporary stickers.
I mean, we need signs up that tell people where the gym is when they come
Yeah.
in for sports, like where's the concessions, where's the bathrooms, because people have no idea where our gyms are when they come in, and there's no signs that say anything.
Yep, my understanding is that those were on order and that the wayfinding signs were gonna go up as soon as the order comes in.
We ordered them, we didn't have Lantern Innovations make them.
No, we went with,
Talked about last year.
yeah, we went with an outside company.
Like January.
And then sponsor signs are, because so that if you don't know, our scoreboards and shot clock in the gym were donated by both Timeout Tavern and the Sports Hub, so they paid for those. And we agreed that we would put signs up.
Yep, I'll have to ask Mariah about that, 'cause I was the one that connected with that one.
Okay. Thank you.
Until we get signed up, we could put something on the programs, so they're at least recognized
That's a
currently
good
for the
idea.
volleyball sport while they're being used.
That's a good idea. That's a really good idea.
It's still,
Okay, anything else on facilities? Any questions? And the plan is still to get the dehumidifier that acts as an air conditioner installed next summer. So fall sports next year, volleyball, and then would have it should be cooler in there by fall next year, is what I've been telling people. Is that accurate? Okay.
Did anybody see the volleyball girls signs that they put up?
Yeah.
on the lawn?
Yes.
That was
It's
pretty
fun.
awesome.
And then just a recommendation, also as things get like installed, painted lockers, like let's push that on the website, on the Facebook, and so like the people that aren't in our schools and seeing all these good things, and see where their money's going. Yeah. Cause it does look great. It does. It's great. And you wouldn't know that unless you're in the building, so it's sure. Okay, we are on letter F. That is the annual Q-Comp report.
Well, first we've got E though.
Nope, that was moved to an action
E was
item.
moved to an action item.
Oh, sorry, okay.
Who's doing them?
Move to approve.
It's not an action item.
Okay. Looks good.
Informational, but I don't know. It's been a long day.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So were there any questions or anything on it? I didn't know. Okay, moving along. G, we talked about the paraprofessionals. Is there anything further you want to talk about with that, or?
Do we need to increase the pay to attract more paras? Especially if we're obligated to provide the service.
Do we have a poll of the applicants? We're higher comparable to most everyone in the area
Okay.
right now with what our wages are.
Minnesota side.
It's just trying to get a pool of applicants out, you know. And it's
Too bad we're up against Wisconsin.
And it's under the non-certified contract. They're included in that, so it's part of that.
contract, so we can't up it until we upped it the last time when we negotiated non-certified.
Yeah.
And the posting for this will be a middle school specific, however, we do go into our paraprofessional hirings as a district paraprofessional to serve where we have the greatest needs. This posting will be made as a middle school posting just because that's where currently the need is. That any hires, the understanding is made that they're a district-wide paraprofessional, not a teacher specific or not a grade level specific.
Do we have pushback from that at all? Do people not like that, or?
It depends. I mean, we shifted one high school pair at elementary over the summer because there was a bigger need there, even though it made us one story. But you were 3 or 4 stories. Yeah. So I mean, we do that just to try and do the best we can. Yeah. For the needs we suit from first.
Okay, anything else on that? Okay, we're on number 11, the consent agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
motion. One second.
Okay, discussion.
Can we see the donation?
Cool.
And admin wasn't here when we did the first reading of the cell phone updates. Were there any?
I appreciate it. That's exactly what staff look for.
Okay. Okay, any other discussion? Okay, those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the consent agenda is approved. We are on number 12A, certification of proposed levy. Commentary by Julie.
So at this time of the year, we want to propose a maximum. So when you do the levy, you cannot go up, but you can go down. So if we approve the maximum now, you can always set it lower if you would like to. But if you set it lower now, you cannot go back up. So most schools always approve the maximum. And then when all the final numbers come out, because they're constantly redoing these levy numbers that come, actually the report that I put together, they put a new levy out today, so the numbers have already changed. And that could be daily, it could be once a week. So then once those all numbers out, if we want to do something different than the maximum, we can. But I would suggest, I think the normal has been to approve the maximum.
Make a motion to approve the proposed levy.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, this passes.
And I think we will need a signature and something like that. Yeah.
Okay. Item B, I would like to make the motion to move the October board meeting that will be taking place in Hoka to Wednesday, October 25th, which is the following Wednesday, because there is a home football game against Caledonia on the 18th, because that's NBA weekend.
Second.
Okay, discussion, would we possibly be able to move it ahead instead of behind, and then would alleviate maybe having a special board meeting in order to get the superintendent eval done at a timely manner to start?
So if we did it then we would
Maybe do
encompass
it,
that.
could we have a regular meeting at the 11th, on the 11th, versus trying to schedule a special board meeting at that time? Can we move it a week earlier?
Or could we wait to do the eval on the 25th?
Pushing it back farther than I would have wanted, but.
Just because of the fact that it's in Hoka, we've had to reserve the space, and now we've moved it once.
And we already did, okay.
And so we'd have to move it again. If it were here, I'd be like, whatever.
Where did we end up?
I imagine the special meeting will be short.
God willing.
Any other discussion?
Brittany, did we secure the city center or
The fire hall.
station?
Yep. Any other discussion? Okay, those in favor of approving the regular board meeting to October 25th instead of the 18th, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that passes. And we are now on 12C, which is the HVED item. I move to approve the HVED joint powers agreement.
Second.
Okay, is there any discussion?
We talked about how our community is really struggling right now. We have highest numbers that we've ever had visiting the food shelf. We have a lot of in-house needs with paraprofessionals. I know that when we proposed raising taxes to build this building, that the public was told one number. Anybody who lives in this town, I'm sure, has seen that it was significantly higher than what we were told.
What do you mean by that?
A can't recall the number that we were told that our taxes would
But
go up.
what's the number? The tax impact or how much we were gonna spend?
The tax impact was more per family than it ended up. It ended up being more than we were told.
So the mill rate went up from what was initially,
Which is not just IEP.
because part of the,
It's not just.
right, but part of the, if we put out a certain mill rate, it's gonna stay that. One of the variables is if the property value goes up, then the tax goes up. And I know for me, my house went from 185 to 259 in 1 year. And my taxes went way up. And when I called up to the county, they told me that they got a new software package and that's what happened. So, you know.
Literally expensive software.
And so, yes, taxes went up, but the mill rate, I guarantee you, the mill rate stayed the same. But continue.
Community is struggling. I have a hard time continuing to approve all of this stuff.
I appreciate that, and I know I felt the way you did a week ago. I needed more information. I needed to feel confident in the decision to make what is best for the students that we are serving and the families that we are serving. And it's a no-brainer knowing the information we've received. And I know, because maybe you can probably help out what the number is we're currently paying to HVED, roughly.
As of last year, total billing last year was $392,000 that we paid to HVED for the special ed services that we have. If you look at your, the first sheet that has the orange on it, this shows how many students are taken out of our school into HVED. The second sheet you have here, these are all the people who worked with La Crescent Hoka through HVED that serve the kids that are on IEPs also. So right now, we have a total of 206 kids district-wide on IEPs.
And that's about 17% of our population.
Well, it was last year on October 1st, it was a little over 17%, which is written on the bottom here. But as we look at that, we've got a ton of those kids on IEPs that have low incidence services, which would be things like deaf, blind of hearing, hard of hearing, deaf and blind. We've got some of the OTPT services that go into there. And because they're not someone that would be a 1.0, okay, it's only a fraction of a person's job to do that. That's why we're able to save money with HVAC, because then all of the people in the cooperative work together. And so if someone needs OTPT, they might go for an hour or two or a day a week in La Crescent Hoka. They might go a day to Mabel Canton. They might go a day over to, other district areas. And so they're itinerant. And so they move around and we're able to save a fair amount of money that way. If you take a look at this, this is kind of the next sheet that has three together, kind of looking like this. And I can if it's okay, I can let someone else speak to this a little bit more. But this is this was something that PEM did.
And PEM is Plainview, Elgin, Millville?
Yes. And this is a cost comparison because they were looking at, one of the things that was suggested is joining GCED. And so you can see the cost comparative on either side as to what it would cost for them to stay in HVED or to go over and go with another cooperative.
So if Caledonia doesn't get on board, then the amount each district paying is going to change?
It will, instead of a 12th, it'll be an 11th.
Yeah. And so right now, of all of the costs, that's why we save money, we pay 1/12 of whatever we're doing.
And was Winona asked again?
They're working to talk to Winona. I don't know where they're at. We've got experts here if we have questions that we can tap.
Was Winona asked again?
We have reached out to Winona and they said that they would get back to us. And this is not the first priority item for them at this time.
Wow.
They've got a new super, right?
We have, the brand new super and a new super as in never having been a super before, as I understand it.
and in Winona, and so, yeah, new special ed director, they've got a lot of things to work on, and, I have spoken, personally, and our superintendents have, to every superintendent they've had in the last 9 years. I believe that we're on our 4th. And so, we will work with them when they're ready to work, but we're not forcing them to the table. We can't force them to the table, but we have an open door policy when they're ready.
And Deborah, when you say open door policy, does that mean like if this passes, say we go ahead with the sale, Winona can still sneak in and we reallocate?
Winona, Houston, and somewhere central, anybody that's not affiliated in Southeast Minnesota with any other organization can come into HVAC.
What's the stipulation? Do they get, are we priority because we're in there and they pay a higher fee?
It will be
utilize the
distributed
services?
per the formula that's in the JPA. It'll be distributed per that formula. It's an appropriate per student. There's several parts to it, but depends. The denominator is how many member districts there are. So what Mindy was saying, dividing something by 12 is a lot less expensive than dividing it by 2 or 3.
And I think there were 2 questions that I heard, so I just want to clarify. One of the things I heard is what would happen with the JPA that we're talking about right now, and how would that be divided up if other people came in? That was one question I heard. The second question I heard, maybe, and I might have heard it from you, Danielle, was it that if a non-member district sends kids, would there be a higher fee? And so those were two different questions that were asked, so I wanted to make sure everyone knew.
I thought Eric answered the question in that the denominator changes. So if we get a 12, if we're at 12, if everybody agrees, then it would be 13, 14, and 15 would be part of that formula. The denominator changes, then everything is reallocated. It would go down for our member districts. Then the second question, just so Abby can hear it.
Second, non-member districts using services through HVAC.
So that's to be determined. It's to come up with conversation with the superintendents who are encouraging that. And so we have a superintendent's advisory council. Mindy serves on that. Gary Desir serves on that. And so that group makes recommendations to our board of directors. Here's our chair of the board. And then decisions are made as a board, similar to your board. And then if that's determined, then they could pay an access fee, it's called. Access fees are typically for organizations that access services, and it's used to pay the building down. Our buildings could be argued that they're not sufficient. In fact, I've made that argument myself, they're not sufficient. So to charge an access fee for insufficient facilities.
Our current buildings.
For our current buildings, they're not sufficient, then that's a hard sell. So we're expecting that moving forward we'll be able to entertain that thought with more justification now. But
why is that something that can't be decided now?
Oh, it can. It's just that you typically do that for facilities that are of higher quality than what we currently have. It's not that it can't be done.
Well, it's kind of like thinking. Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. I wasn't gonna forget what I'm saying. So like if I want something that, I can get tomorrow versus wait 3 weeks to get, I'm going to pay us like an expedited fee. So if they want the services and they're not part of it, can we call it something else versus a facility fee? Could we call it an access fee or something else?
Yep.
A premium services or something to that.
And last time we can do any of those things.
So right now we have non-member districts use some of our services. Typically those are services that we have access of. So if we have a physical therapist that's only working, 70% of the time for us, we'll sell the 30% to, typical Winona because that's the one that we focus on. So we cost out what that cost is. They also pay 10% premium on those services because they're a non-member. I think that number would probably change with a different facility. But I couldn't tell you what that number is.
Then last time I asked about when you sell your other building and how can we guarantee that money would go towards the payoff of this building. you had said that it would have to be approved by the board, and that something could be written and put in the JPA.
The JPA won't change at this time. We're approving the JPA that people have had in front of them for several weeks now. So that's the JPA that we are voting on. If there's any amendments to anything, then we need to have this sort of thing happen again. So each board needs to make an amendment. Is that right? This is the HVIC board. I think HVIC board. Now I'm a little confused on that little detail right now. But as far, I don't know.
Did you ask the board after the last time I asked you to put that amendment on?
So I don't know if we can take those proceeds and directly pay off in case with the lease payment. I'm not sure. It's a little different than a bond. And you can't, to the district, you can't sell property and pay off your bond there and have it on the lease.
We can't guarantee it at this time.
Yeah.
And that's what you're asking.
So I think the plan would be for our property, would be is we would keep those funds to do either further renovations on the mall project or maintenance and upkeep that takes place. Because you know your facilities always need something.
And then I have one more question. I understand that when
I would just add in response to that, this is me as a superintendent speaking, as a member of HVAC. This is not my board. This is not the full superintendent. And I should apologize up front when I came in to Mindy because she was not aware that I was coming. And I didn't realize you guys were coming. In fact, I didn't know you were having your board meeting tonight until about 2 hours before. And I thought, I'd just like to come and be available, I guess, to offer any opinion because I have been around HVAC for a long time. In multiple positions in multiple districts. I've been in the largest district, I'm now in the smallest district. We have been looking at this for 10 to 12 years. This is not something that's just popped up. And I'm sure all of you are aware of that. But my answer to that is, as a superintendent, I would be opposed to putting something like that either in a JPA or any other document at this point. Because, from my perspective, let's say 5 years, 10 years down the road, we sell either the Kellogg building or the office building in Winona. There might be a greater need to use those proceeds for something that we don't even know about right now, as opposed to guaranteeing to the public and to all of our boards that they will automatically go toward reducing that cost. I think that would be very unwise. And again, that's my opinion.
So it's my understanding that when our community ed was running in the red, that our business department was able to find ways to rearrange funds to get them in a nice and stable place. And so I know that you said Caledonia found a special way to help reduce that load with their general funds, and I'm wondering if we have looked at all of those options for our community.
I would comment. So, if you approve this GPA, you do not have to levy for the lease payment. If you have enough funds in your house, you can write the check twice a year and pay for those. You are not obligated to tax your community for it. Okay, my district, we do not have a fund balance that would allow us to do that. Now, maybe 5 years from now, things change, the fund balance grows. When you do that levy report that you approved earlier in there, we wouldn't check the box that says non-voter approved levies, which would include the lease payment for the facilities in Winona. So that would come off our taxpayers' roll. So we have that option as boards to do that. We are not obligated to do the levy to get the funds if you have the funds. Many districts don't have, and they're going to take that option.
Right, so I think that's her question to our business person. Is that something you could do without passing it along to taxpayers? Is that something you could?
Knowing our community is hurting right now.
Right.
I can't speak to whether we would be able to or not without looking at that. I mean, this first time we're being asked that, so. I cannot speak to that for sure. I know when you asked about the community ed thing, a lot of districts do run in the red in community ed, because they choose to just be able to keep the, young children, from birth, the ones at daycare up to preschool, and then so they stay in the district. They choose to have, their community ed in red, and then they just supplant with the general ed fund. I know a lot of schools that do that. So to answer that question, but
knowing that that's sitting really well right now, and you know, Mindy uses some of her time for that department, could her salary be billed to that department? Can we rearrange things to make it work to be less of an impact on our taxpayers?
And I think one thing we need to look at too is our fund balance that we have. I mean, when you look at other schools, and I'm not sure, you know, Gary with Mabel or whatever, but that's a pretty healthy fund balance. So I think that, yes, ours is a very healthy fund balance. Yeah. So, I mean, we have schools that are 8%.
So can you guys bring a plan to us to be able to approve this GPA without levying our taxpayers?
It would be something where it's a split or.
So while you're looking at that,
So the only other comment on that is you were talking about budget earlier in your conversation. Paraprofessionals is going to be on an additional one. So remind everyone here. So those new students coming in, are the resident students and the open enrolled students? Because if they're open enrolled students, those costs go back to the resident district. So you're not obligated, you know, if you have someone come in from, say, Wabasha that has special needs or whatever, and you have to hire a fair to meet the IEP, that cost goes back to where the student resides. So if you are getting those open enrolled kids that are high need, you know, you pass that cost back to your resident.
And I know you said one was newly moved here, so one is a resident.
Majority of them are residents.
Yeah.
So I have a couple of questions as well, for that I still am not getting answered. And I'm just gonna say generally, like, most of us don't know the history of HVAD, what it was, how many kids we had going there. So I think there was a lot of assumptions that we knew all this, and we weren't getting information we needed to do our due diligence to make a decision on behalf of our taxpayers. I'll speak for myself, and I'll stop saying we. So myself, I wasn't confused. I just was not getting the information that I kept asking for to make an informed decision and feel like I was doing my due diligence. So questions I still have, the ALC, is that something that our high school students could opt to go to instead of going to high school classes here? Is that a physical high school that they go to each day or whatever the program is set up? And that's an alternative that they currently have and will have in the future, because our community was very clear that an ALC is a priority, and I don't know that people know that we have an ALC. So I don't know who wants to answer it, but if someone could, that would be great.
Yeah.
Whoever you want to call on, you can both answer.
Well, if
I can answer too.
okay.
Great. Yeah. So, River Valley Academy is the HVAD ALC. It's housed in Southeast Tech. So that's the building where they currently have their space. We have students who, there's a referral process. So if it's someone that our student success team identifies as really strong, whether they are credit deficient, whether there's some qualifications you have to meet in order to qualify. And that comes from the state in order to qualify for an ALC program. So that goes through our student success team first. At that point, we have a conversation with student and parent, because it's a voluntary piece. You can't say, hey, April, you have to go here. This is an option for you.
Yeah. And did we have buses that take them there, or?
We do not have transportation. If there is someone who has an IEP, then there's transportation in there, which we had for a limited window. Then there was a bus that ran, and other students could ride that bus. But when that student stopped attending, then that bus stopped existing. So
And-
transportation can be a barrier, which
Right.
is part of why we would love to have something here facing.
But it won't be here, it'll be in Winona, so they'll still have to have transportation.
Yeah, it's in Winona. Yeah.
Right, it's my understanding that this won't even move to the new building, this is going to stay in Southeast Tech.
Oh, it'll go to the new building.
Everything is gonna go to the
Oh.
But it'll be a wash for transportation.
So,
We don't provide.
so the cost for transportation is 100% reimbursable. So.
If it's in an IP,
Special
yeah.
ed students. So if you have to hire somebody to do that, you get reimbursed. If you wanna buy a van, the cost of that van could be.
And I would just comment, or add on to Jacob's comment about transportation. I don't know of any school that provides transportation to an ALC. That's just, it's just not done. Because they have to qualify for the ALC. That is an option for them. So it is up to them to provide the transportation. So my point is, Crescent is not any different than any other school. Could I just respond to a couple of tax things that I heard Darcy say?
Yes, please.
Is that okay, Chair? I don't know if this was the specific question about Caledonia having some special funds. Is that what you were alluding to at one point?
No, he said they just found a special way to fund it.
Yeah, and I think what that is the one-day certificate funds that they established back when they built the new middle and high school. And that still exists. So no one else, to my knowledge, has access to those special funds. It's something they did back over many years ago, 15, 20 years. So they lucked out, if you will, but that isn't available from Abel Canton or the Crescent. In terms of a way to reduce the tax impact on the taxpayers here, is there another way? Yeah, you can take it out of your general fund, and you have a healthy general fund right now. I, as a superintendent again, would be very careful in saying we will guarantee that we will always take those funds out of the general fund. If you're going to do that, and I don't know if you can do it legally, if you were going to do that, I would do it 1 year at a time. Because you know exactly where your fund is now.
Yes.
But 10 years from now, you don't know.
Because
Well,
otherwise
and-
they're gonna have
and
to
just-
levy for more money for something else.
Yeah,
because
that's
they
what I was
don't-
gonna just
yeah.
say. If you guarantee it for the next 15 years, it will never put it on the tax base. What happens is your general fund could go down. Now you've got to go out to the taxpayers for an operating referendum. So you're just in a vicious cycle. Also, I heard you say, I think, Darcy, is there a way that you can bring that back so we can guarantee, I don't know if that was your word or not. I'm a little concerned about the timeline here. Are we going to lose the opportunity to purchase that? 10 of 12 have approved the Crescent and Caledonia. You still haven't totally decided. And I don't know, this is maybe a Deborah Run, much better than me, but is the owner of the Winona Mall going to all of a sudden say, you know what, this has been dragging on, I got another person interested, and now we're out of luck, because we have been looking for 10 to 12 years. And I know, I'm going to say, nope, well, Ron's been around as long as me. It's just been a long, involved process, and we have looked at umpteen thousand, and I'm probably telling you things you already know. This is the best solution we have found. Are there negatives to it? Absolutely. Way back when, I was a proponent of a two-site system. One in the north, one in the south. I don't want my kids, whether they're a Crescent kid or Mabel Canton kids, traveling all the way to Winona. But in my opinion, the benefits of one site far outweigh the benefits of two sites, both economically and efficiency-wise. And somebody somewhere along the line early on mentioned college kids. could we, have college kids? If we're in Winona, there's no guarantee, but we are so short-staffed throughout HBD. If we have one site in Winona, at least there is the potential, in my opinion, that we might be able to fill in some of these para positions with college kids. As well as, we all know, Winona has a bigger population base than Maple Canyon or La Crescent. So potentially, there's more employees coming down. If we have one site in Winona,
So is this
how's that?
a situation where we can, as a school, look at our wants versus our needs? Is this a bigger need than additional bleachers for the softball field, or lights, or other athletic updates that we were looking at doing? That we can put this in our general fund budget, at least for this year, while our economy is in a depression, to not hurt our families more than they're already hurting right now.
So we do have a dollar amount.
Yeah.
So yearly cost is little over 184,000. We are not.
It's right here, it's on every got the sheet, it's the Ayler's payment. So I
Yeah.
just check to make sure I got the right column, because I'm kind of in the dark.
And we're not the highest, and we're not the lowest. So that is how much we would have to find a year if we were not.
But that's assuming Caledonia passes theirs, right? It would go up.
It would go up and
Correct.
Right.
And it would go down if they got any of the other districts on board.
Just a little more clarification. So we had a lease levy in Tobriota in the past. There was a couple of years we chose, we had a good, healthy fund balance. Property taxes were getting raised up. 1 year we levied for half the payment, just 50%, took the other half out of there. We had another year that we paid the whole thing, there was no impact. So I would recommend doing that every year when you just do that report that you did earlier and finalize it in December. You could put it on or take it off, depends on what your fund balance is, depends on what your economy is.
So with that number that you were just looking at, Julie, we have it?
I have to be honest, I've only been on board of the Crescent since February. So, and this is the first time I've asked that question.
In the middle of an audit.
And so I'm not comfortable to speak to whether we do or don't. What I can say is that everything that I have looked at so far has been very healthy. The audit is going very well. I haven't had any concerns from that. But to tell you yes or no on that, I don't feel I should speak to that without doing more research on that.
And can we make different decisions on the other money that we said was going to be
there's some of
spent
the
on
other
these
money
things?
we make different decisions on, because
And the long-term facilities money be used for this and for the facilities?
I don't think so.
Don't believe
The only thing I would say, Darcy, is every year the board comes together, you work with administration to set the budget, you will determine where you want to apply your resources.
Yeah.
So if you're looking at fields or how much here and the levy, all that comes together with the conversations you have with administration.
I know, and we talked about how we have this spreadsheet and there's certain things that we want done, but that ultimately before anything got done, it was going to come to the board. But some things have been getting done that weren't all approved. So that's why I want this very clear before I approve it.
And that's a very good point you made, if I may speak, that if that is a directive, that we need to have that in our budget, then that is where we would have to find areas to change to get that in our budget. And when you're talking 184,000, I mean, that's not as big as some other things that
On a
we're
14
looking at.
million budget, that's not.
Yeah, it's not really that much,
Not
so.
when we're spending almost 400,000 to ship kids all over the place.
Yeah. So I mean, and I don't wanna say that's small, because
But we're
every
still
dollar is a
spending
lot.
kids. That's not going away, and there's HOCA kids that will be sending to Winona now. Right.
But then there's also kids who
But they're
are
gonna
going to Kellogg that won't
Exactly.
have to go to Kellogg. They'll go to Winona instead. And if
It's
you
just
look
a
at the
different
sheet with the orange on it, you can see it changes every year. So 1 year we had more kids going to Kellogg than wherever the Spectrum service was at that point. So
I just wanna, Mr. Kufal, I appreciate your comment about that this has dragged on, but again, I'm just gonna say, we're not getting the answers to our questions. I've asked the same questions over and over again. So if a quick decision was needed, then I would expect a packet of information, FAQs, that has never been provided. We've asked for numbers, it takes a week to get the numbers, so this is not because we're delaying anything or we're not getting the information that we've asked for several times. I do have one additional question, which is, it's very clear that HVED cannot disband in the 15 years during the JPA. On your 15 plus 1 day, let's say HVED disbands, the assets of HVED at that point, do those get divvied up and given back to the district? So would we have our portion of the sale of that building coming back into our district if HVAC goes away? I have not gotten that answer.
Yes, and that is in the JPA.
It is not.
It
Up
is
to
in the
15.
GPA, if something happens during that first 15 years, it's all filled out in there.
Right, but my question is at 15
Right.
years and 1 day, which is probably covered in the master, which none of us have seen. So that is my question.
So it's divided equitable amongst the members.
Okay, so HVAC goes away, the assets from HVAC are sent out to the member districts, so we would get that back into our district.
Once all liabilities are met.
Right. Whatever's remaining.
And there's a formula for that, we do the billing that way through per student enrollment and et cetera.
Yep. And that is covered in the master that we have with HVAC. It is not in the JPA.
In the bylaws.
It's in the bylaw.
We have a set of bylaws that we approve every year.
We have an agreement in the bylaws, and I didn't really didn't have those.
The governing board,
Okay.
So it's something, well, we've never had to do it in 37 years, but hopefully we won't.
The reverse also happened. I don't know if it's the reverse, but Houston left. They didn't get any assets. No matter what they put in.
Right. Well,
They chose to leave, Winona chose to leave, Lake City chose to leave. That's our benefit.
And just
If that ever happened.
On what she said, at the last meeting when we turned it down, I did ask to find alternative ways to pay for this, and without our taxpayers. So if that would have came today, I would have no problem passing it, but I'm still asking for it again. And as far as being forthright with information, today there was a news article calling us out about not passing it, and at the bottom of the news article, it stated that there was a question asked if non-participating members were able to still get services, and it says that it's still up to debate or still under question. It does not, they didn't tell the public that there are currently 4 non-participating district members that are currently getting services. So that's not forthright information.
It's also a
not
news article.
Yeah.
You're dealing with media, that's
It's a
gonna be
required
biased anyway, right?
I think there's a slight difference, and again, I didn't see the article, I was part of that article, I didn't respond, but I'll try and respond. I think you said that there are.
I don't need a response, I just wanted you to know where we're coming from in our decision making.
Okay.
Is there any other discussion? Cody, did you have your hand up at some point?
Wade, is there anything important that you feel we should know, considering some of the question that we have had with it that might not have been touched on?
I can't believe it was something we haven't asked. I think this has been updated so many times over the 11 to 12 years, and on April, this has been updated at different times before you were on the board, but then it was a different project, and so when that got updated, no one here is really from when we updated you. I'm sure Chuck Dockendorf has good knowledge of it, but that was how far along it was. So the reason I was for it, and I'm here tonight, and I don't have a vote in it, you guys do, but it's the one area in Winona, being able to attract good teachers, and we want to give them some consistency as well. I don't know if we said that, but if I'm working somewhere, I'd like to know where I'm gonna go this next year. Is it gonna be Caledonia, Spring Grove? Am I going up to Kellogg? Having that consistency, giving the people that life-work balance so they can take care of the kids, which is the most important thing. I really think Winona is the best choice. We were in Lewiston, we were in Dover, we've looked at multiple sites. We were all hell in creation looking at this damn thing.
Did you guys all look at the Caledonia Able building?
No, that just came up after I left, so that, I wasn't part of that. And that's again on the other end,
But
so.
there was some staff that
Yeah,
architects that looked at it.
yep. From HVED that looked at it, along with Caledonia folks.
But that would also be recruiting, right? There's a much smaller
Yeah,
workforce.
and I think Winona's a good location for recruiting, and I think what the folks here have said. So, again, it's not a perfect thing. I heard there's not a gym, but, you know, you can't have everything. But hopefully it's enough to meet the needs of the kids in one area. And again, you and I used to work at Chilita. You had that help there. There's some high needs kids there, and when you need help, you can pull in from different areas. I mean, Deb has had to drive up to Kellogg to get a little help out some days. It's a whole hell of a lot easier when you're in one building to go help where they're having some issues to hopefully get that kid to the right spot where they need to be.
And Gary, have you gone and talked to the superintendent in Winona?
Superficially, but here's what I know. Somebody said it, he's new, he's brand new as a soup. If you follow Winona, and we all have heard, both in the media at least, they've got a lot on their plate. And as a new soup, he has said, I am not saying Winona is not interested, but I have bigger fish to fry right now. HVED, we are not a member, and that's not high enough on my list of priorities as the new superintendent in Winona. We have reached out. They have reached out. Well, you know, they used to be a member, and then they decided, I don't remember, 6, 8, 10 years ago, to leave. They have asked for some of our services, and in fact, you maybe know, they have sent some of our
stopped being a
kids.
member in 2008, and since 2013, they have continued to receive services.
Yeah, and I think they pay, I would call it a surcharge. The biggest concern, and I don't know if it's ever come up, is what if La Crescent has a student that needs to take advantage of the program, either in Spectrum or in Kellogg, and it's full because there are Winona students in there. That's been a big concern among the soups. We've had that discussion, and that I have confidence, I guess, as a soup, that will be addressed, because that's not right.
Right.
It's just not right. If I can't get my student in, and I'm a member over a non-member, I don't care how much more they're paying. If my kid needs services, I want the services.
that
That's
was
part of the
my
reason
question.
why I'm a member district.
Do we get priority as a member district, and then also they play a
If I may comment a little bit on that. So if you go back to the pandemic, people weren't sending their kids anywhere. So it was a lot of virtual stuff. We had openings in those programs. We had teaching staff with very few kids. So we took on those kids and spread that cost and keep everyone's costs down. Problem is, you take those kids, you can't say, go away. So we're obligated to finish those. Some of those have graduated, moved back to the member districts, whatever, and we have not replaced them with non-member students. But when that occurred, especially, I think there's 3 of them in particular from Winona, was because we were not being, we didn't have kids in seats, but we had staff at that point in time. Now we got just the opposite, too many kids.
They helped us up back then.
I didn't see a big drop in the numbers that year.
Is there any further discussion? I think I'll just add one thing that is certainly concerning me since the last time we voted is the number of kids coming into the district with some pretty significant needs, and I know they weren't able to project, numbers for us, but I just feel like it's probably only going to keep happening, right? And we have to have a place to serve them.
I don't want to talk about this, but I do have a question to see if you have a question. Did it come up at all among any of you about the cost per student and how many students or how few students request stems? And if that's not a question or a concern, I'm not gonna address it.
That was one of my questions, and I know, Wade spoke to it a little bit, he didn't have numbers, but we did ask the question.
So this has some, this is from the audit, this has some projected numbers year to year that we pay. And what's the state average and what's the dark blue is our school district, the light blue is the state average, and then the red is what districts roughly our size. And this is FY '22, because the FY '23 one is not done yet. That won't be done until the audit. And so we are slightly lower than what the state average is this past year in '22. And that's a great deal because we're able to consolidate resources with HVEC. And we're able to share and pair with other districts so that we don't have to have as many people doing part jobs. Like I said, this document again, those are all the people that work with us to take care of our students that are still in school on IEPs, etc. Not to mention the students who are in HVAC.
Any further discussion?
If we make a motion to approve the JPA.
We've had a motion in a second.
Oh. So it can't already be added to the motion that it is paid out of general fund for this year.
No, we've had a motion in a second.
Later. On the budget. That's not correct, but we vote on that later.
So we just approve the budget and the levy, so.
Not the budget, just the
budget.
levy.
Yeah,
we haven't approved.
the levy.
So this year we can do a revised budget yet, and then FY '25 would be a new budget.
So that motion can still come forward at a later time.
Yes.
Okay, any further discussion? Clerk Miller, can we do a roll call vote, please? Cody?
No.
Strumka?
Yes.
Martell? Yes. Morgan?
Yes.
Conway's absent. Carlson? Yes. Kraut? Never mind. Mickey Miller, yes. Okay, the motion passes.
Adjourn, meeting motion to adjourn.
Second. Meeting is adjourned.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you for the information.